policymakers to make AB 1682 what it became, which was, I think, consumer-oriented enough that we could support it, but it also obviously helps the unions to do what they, do well, and that is, negotiating with in this case, public authorities, but in some cases, the unions will actually be negotiating with the statewide authority for those of us that are coordinated care initiative county. That's kind of another issue. But it's been great to see the wages go up because, before our public authority was in place, it was always minimum wage or never benefits, and workers were really stuck in a bad way. So I have to say, one of the great things that came out of CAPA, public authorities, and maybe 1682 is that the unions have been able to negotiate. And I do feel badly for the small rural counties where the boards of supervisors simply say they have no money, and I guess you're still stuck at minimum wage. And I guess the good news is, January 2016, the wages are going up to $10, no matter what the counties say. So I guess that's a little bit of good news for folks. So anyway, if there are any questions about CAP, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll give the mic back to the experts up front.
Any questions? Oh, lots. Go ahead, right behind you. Gentlemen, stop. William, gentleman with the glasses, right?
Gentleman glasses.
Yeah.
Chris Long.
Thank you. I'm a 25-year care provider. I provide care for Christine Loomis, and we got involved in the union contract in the first one in Riverside County. And that ran for 11 months, and every time we met, I was absolutely amazed at how little I knew about who I was representing. So my passion really is, if we want to make this program better, we need to know who's out there that we're trying to provide services for. I went out and bought a $2,500 server on my care provider salary, and thank you, and it's still sitting on the shelf because I ran into all the people that said you can never do that. I was going to just start, I started phone banking, and every time I got hold of a client or a care provider, it was a brand new surprise. Somebody's looking after 200-pound schizophrenic twins. Who guessed that would ever happen? And every time I talked to somebody, I had no idea there was a care provider like that. So all I could feel was my isolation as a care provider. And when I tried to set up a database and say, okay, I'm going to quantify the people in Riverside County and find out who's out there, well, I ran into all the privacy issues and all that stuff. And there was only about 6,000 providers then in Riverside County, or maybe less. And so I was prepared to wear a headset and just do this all day long while I did my care providing. This must be a good idea. Not that thing. Hey, so would the state cooperate? Can we get around the whole privacy issue? And I get 2 paychecks. I sure as heck open those envelopes. And if the state wants to tell me something 5 times in a row, then they do that, Couldn't they just bring people into a network and into a database that by invitation only, if there's no other way, and get people talking about, this is what I do, this is who I look after. When the gentleman talks about diabetes, who knew there was going to be an epidemic of diabetes and therefore blindness? And we could get on top of a lot of that stuff if the state would cooperate with this, and Deborah would know something about that, and put flyers in our paychecks asking for people either to inform about what they do, who they care for. We're incredibly isolated as care providers. It's very difficult to know what's going on in the community, and some of the best help we've ever gotten was from other care providers and other clients. They were the people that bailed us out of our difficulties. All sorts of them. If we could start building a network, ladies and gentlemen, Amazon knows what I read better than I do. If they suggest a book, the chances are if I got the money, I'm going to buy it. Now, why can't we know our care providers and our clients, somewhat at least, on that level, where we have a sense of this is what those people are dealing with, let's address their needs. When we were negotiating the contract, all I had to go on was what I needed as a care provider. That's hopelessly inadequate. Thank you.
Well, I'm just gonna say on one side of the equation, you do have your unions. They have everybody's name.
I tried them.
So
Close up.
they do have
I was
everybody's.
secretary treasurer for a while at UDW.
Yeah.
Couldn't make them go.
So I think going to what your underlying issue is, there's an interesting number now of online groups, Facebook groups that are providers and consumers. I have to say on the provider side, working for your unions is probably, it's easy for me to say, more realistic than expecting the state to put anything in your extra in your paychecks. I mean, if they can get your paychecks, that's a good thing out to you. But I mean, that's part of what I think public authorities can do. But also, and we do have, the state has demographics about the consumer and worker population, which are pretty fascinating. You know, we have 460,000 consumers now, and they vary totally on the spectrum of age and disability and race and geography and language and culture and everything else. It's true that they don't necessarily have a way to connect with each other. When you talk to people from other states, they are incredulous that we have 460,000 people getting in-home services. There's no other state that even comes close. There's hardly any states that have as many digits, you know, in their total population. They might have 1,000 people in a state. It's really stunning to them. But I agree with you that, you know, it's hard to figure out the commonalities. Last summer and fall, when we were talking about the overtime issue, I mean, I learned a lot from providers and family members who got in touch with me who had situations that I never pictured, frankly. I mean, people who were taken care of, thinking of one provider who quit her job as an RN to adopt 3 of the severely disabled babies who had been abandoned in her NICU. I mean, at the extreme end of, you know, one spectrum, and the number of families who are taking care of more than one minor or adult child with a disability, or taking care of a child and a parent, or we had a sibling and a parent. We had a couple of male providers who were taking care of 2 elderly parents who had given up their jobs and moved in with, you know, their elderly parents. These were all people who were threatened by overtime restrictions. That's how, you know, we came to know them. So it is a stunning variety of people. About, I think, 70%, if I have this right, our providers are related to the person that they take care of. Doesn't mean that they're close relationship, they're related in some way. And their interests, they're probably never going to work for another client. They got into it because of the family need. And so, you know, whenever we have a discussion about career ladders or whatever, you know, I always try to remind myself that we have people in very different positions, just as you're saying. It's a wide variety of lives that are represented in a population between the consumers and the workers of almost 1 million people in California that are directly involved in IHSS. So keep that server.
Thanks for thank you.
William, can you run the mic? Yeah.
Please state your name and county when you.
You have to go on after that.
How many came?
2 more, there's two hands.
Okay.
Lady right there.
Yes.
Thanks.
My name is George Fry, and I'm from Calaveras County, and I've been on the IHSS about a year. And it's deplorable what's going on in my county. It's just totally deplorable. for the caregivers and the people that are getting the care. We have a public authority that is even worse. This person has been in charge for 12 years and has gotten away with unbelievable stuff. I tried to get on the public, on the IHSS 3 or 4 years ago.
The advisory committee?
Yeah. I tried to get on that committee, and she was making the decisions. The Board of Supervisors didn't even know that they were supposed to be making those decisions. They finally woke up one day and realized that they were in charge. We still have the problem with this person. I want to see it get resolved. The rest of the members on the committee want to see it get resolved. I came here to learn what's going on with CICA and so on and so forth, but I also want some strategies. We have a problem. I've stated the problem. Now I'm looking for solutions from the folks in this room. I don't want to state the problem again. We all know what the problem is. I want to hear solutions. Thank you.
Have the board fire her. Board of Supervisors can fire her.
They got no guts.
My name's Bonnie Newman. I'm also from Calaveras. I was going to broach the same subject. The IHSS Advisory Committee and the Public Authority got along extremely well as long as the Public Authority was in charge. They set the agenda, they took the minutes, they appointed and recruited the people for the Advisory Committee, and as soon as the Advisory Committee asserted itself, wanted to do its own minutes, set its own agenda, the Public Authority has withdrawn all support. In fact, has indicated they will charge us for any services they have to provide to the IHSS committee. So we're in a dilemma right now. Is the public authority, and in our county it's the second most expensive public authority in the state, worth the money? What's more important, the services to the clients or keeping a nice, big, fat, lucrative public authority in total high wages, benefits, whereas the neglect is being indicated by the lack of concern for the consumers and the providers, and of course we will be minimum wage once again also. Hope is that we can, in this forum, learn some strategies to take back and be the main component of the program in giving advice and recommendations.
One more.
I am from Solano County. I've been with the advisory committee for like 6 years. And one solution that I could give you is, educate the people about the work that you are doing. Yes, we just have our spring conference, May 9. And this is in partnership. When we have a conference, you needed funds. North Bay Hospital have offered, because they partner with IHSS Public Authority. They give us the rooms because, you have to rent the rooms and our district supervisor has recruited Kaiser to give us $2,000 to help us fund for the conference. So that is one tip. You have to, be with the hospitals. It's through the district supervisor that can help you with finance. And we have our meetings only 6 times a year because of the budget cuts. That's why some of you or some other districts or counties have monthly meetings. We have only 6 meetings in a year. That's us at Solano County.
I just want to make one follow-up comment. A person wrote a letter to the grand jury.
I'm sorry, you need a microphone, and then we're gonna cut this off. I have one thing to say.
Okay, thank you.
A person wrote a letter to the grand jury 3 years ago explaining this whole situation. The grand jury talked to the public authority official, did not even interview the person that wrote the letter. What does that tell you? So I'm begging, maybe you are the person to help us.
No, actually, I'm not. I think we represent people with disabilities, and I would suggest, as somebody suggested to you, that you have a body in your county that's responsible for hiring. I assume, you have to look at your own bylaws. I mean, I'm saying this really informally and personally. Look at your own bylaws and find out who the appointing authority is. My agency is not going to intervene to get your director fired. Let me just say that. That's not going to happen. But if there are consumers who are not getting services, who want to call us, we would help anybody we could who was in that situation. But as an individual, I'm telling you, you have a political task, right? You've got a political entity that is doing the hiring. And I have to say something about grand juries. They're not always our friends.
No, they're not.
And I mean in the opposite way. Grand juries have been extremely harmful to IHSS. Grand juries have been the source of rabid, and I'm insulting dogs here, rabid and inaccurate reports about how terrible and fraudulent IHSS is. So personally, I don't see them as a necessarily advocates or helpful, because they hear from only one side, no matter which side it is. So anyway, but I would really suggest that you talk to some of the other, privately to some of the other advisory board members and executive directors who are here, who might give you some political insight. And I'm really surprised to hear someone say that you're the second most expensive public authority in the state, when we have public authorities with, like LA Public Authority, so I don't know what that means.
That's
But
per capita. She makes almost $70,000 a year.
I see, compared to the number of people who are on IHSS, that's what you're talking about, okay. I do suggest that you have a political issue and talk to the people who are familiar with county politics and members of advisory boards who may have gone through similar issues.
Thank you, Deborah. Boy, and that's true. Every county is different, and one of the great things about CICA is you can meet people and discuss these issues on a level that maybe you can learn a strategy, as Deborah said, to resolve this, but we certainly can't go county by county and think that we can fix these problems. What we can do is try to educate all the advisory committee members and reinforce to you that you do have a mandate. And again, as I said earlier, if it looks like you can't get it done and it needs to be done, you need to find a way to get it done.
Yes.
And that's just the way it's going to work. In Humboldt County, I could tell you horror stories also. I'm sure we know every county is different. Our job is to educate the members and help them fulfill their mandate. And I think, are we almost close to lunchtime, Charlie?
No.
Deborah, I have a question. What's going on with the overtime lawsuit?
The overtime, Randy's question is the overtime lawsuit. The overtime at the federal level, it was heard on May 7th, and I don't know when Oddly enough, the judge is not actually calling me to tell me when the decision's going to be issued, but I would expect that whatever the decision is, it would get appealed by whichever side loses. So, yeah, I think at that level that it's not going to happen today.
Or anytime soon. No, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. We've got 10 minutes before lunch, and I just want to get a few more things said. You know, we partner with Disability Rights California, we partner with CAPA, and I do want to take a few minutes to talk about the other organizations that we partner with that are so important to what to the work that we do. And I'm going to bring Charlie up right here, who a lot of you hear on our monthly calls. Charlie is now our executive director of CICA, and I can't tell you what an incredible job he does for us. But I just want to mention very quickly, and Charlie got to help us get them all in, the organizations that your executive board participates in, representing all of us at the state level. We have 2 advisory committee members, Michelle Rouse and myself, who sit on the Olmsted Committee at the state level with Deborah. And the Olmsted Committee is to, for those of you that don't know, Howard Budd. Yeah, Bud is on, yeah, the Olmsted Committee, but the Olmsted Committee meets to do the mandates of the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, and Olmsted to getting people into the community with community support. So, and we make recommendations to the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and we won't go into that. We also sit on the California Collaborative for Long-Term Services and Supports, which is a very large collaborative throughout the state for long-term services and supports. I mean, this is the people like the Alzheimer's Association, the hospitals, Ombudsman's program. I mean, it's a huge organization, but we are involved there too, and our voices are heard. The legislation that came out about the, what am I trying to say, that came out of the, I'll give you a clue, for the consumers, in the CCI county, the Bill of Rights for the consumers in the CCI community, that came out of that organization, and a lot of us were on that committee that developed those, that Bill of Rights. It's kind of in abeyance now.
And the IHSS Coalition.
Yes, and the IHSS Coalition, and I just wanted to say that Charlie, CARA, California Association of Retired Americans, we sit on their board of directors, so that's another big organization that is very involved with legislation and advocacy for seniors primarily, but they've also extended, which I'm very pleased to say because of our efforts, and Janet Canterbury down in LA, to have a whole disability part of that too, so there's seniors and persons with disabilities that they advocate for in CARA. Charlie just did the application for the statewide public authority, right, Charlie?
Statewide advisory board.
Statewide advisory board, that's what I meant, yeah. So that, have you heard from them? You know, and so that's very key, and I just, oh, you did, Michelle? Oh, fabulous, okay. So that would have, and that is going to be a very interesting committee when that gets started. And so to have hopefully two people on there, huge, absolutely huge. What else is there, Charlie? Charlie and I have sat in the past. We did the fraud prevention. We were on that committee at the statewide level. We did the committee that did the training program, that whole committee that was on, IHSS training before they were, thinking about, that was with the, it was at Sacramento State. We did that. So we are involved throughout the state in a lot of organizations representing you. And I think that, that's another thing that CICA does. But the segue for you folks with this is how important it is for you at your level, at your county level, to know what's going on and what organizations in the county level can you partner with that can help you do your work. And I think that comes with, in Calaveras County, there are organizations out there that you can partner with that would be there to help you. And when things come up that you're not happy with, and one that I didn't mention is your local independent living centers. You know, they have, unfortunately, I think throughout the state, not been real supportive of IHSS. They have not been in the trenches with us. I think that they are now coming around because there's a lot in this, tomorrow, Disability Rights and Capital Action Day, that they're, you know, they're understanding how important that is and how they have to get involved. So I would encourage you at your local level to educate those folks in the ILC and get them involved with the issues that really impact IHSS and the advisory committee. But there are other, Alzheimer's Association, hey folks, they have a lot of people that utilize IHSS with Alzheimer's and dementia. That organization needs to partner with us. So look around, be aware, invite them to your advisory committee meetings, get them involved because they can really help you. Okay.
You guys have an enormous amount to be proud of, and part of what you have to be proud of is right up here, Charlie and Jamie, who are credible, respected, and do you proud in the capital around the state, and I would ask for your recognition of that.
You know, one of the things, I am kind of new with the position I'm in, but I also have found that with Karen and Deborah from CAPA and Disability Rights, whenever I have a problem, I'm not sure which direction to go.
Can you speak up, please?
Whenever I have a problem, I go to CAPA and Disability Rights. I say, hey, what have you heard about this? Where are we at? Before I respond to answers on that email. So I want you guys to know that if you have a question or something like that, I try to look for you guys to get the best answer. And that's how we work here. I hope that we all start sharing more information. And I think this building CAPA for that.
And thanks, Deborah, for being here today. I'll take your question later. Okay? Okay, I think it's lunchtime, folks. Take a break. I want you to take this opportunity to network in the community here. $5. Thank you very much.